China just detonated a bomb in the global RV market, and the shock is spreading far beyond campgrounds. Their 2026 campervan lineup isn't just cheaper, it's impossibly cheaper. We're talking high-tech rigs, rising roofs, electric drivetrains, all priced at levels Western companies haven't matched in decades. Dealers are whispering, import logs are spiking, and behind closed doors, major manufacturers are scrambling to figure out how China built something this advanced for a fraction of the cost. But here's the twist. These aren't concept teasers. They're full production units, already moving through global logistics networks. And the ripple effect could hit far more industries than just RVs. If you care about tech, jobs, global markets, or the future of manufacturing, what happens next affects you, and it's starting right now. Say ici Maxus Life Home V90 Villa Edition. The first thing that strikes you about this unit is not its size or its glass structure. It is the fact that a production model like this even exists at all, and that it comes out of a market that has spent the past few years tightening every bolt on cost efficiency. The SAC Maxus Life Home V90 Villa Edition is not a concept. It is not a prototype parked under bright show lights. It is a manufactured, documented, photographed release that has already moved through real show floors and real logistics channels. And when something this unusual reaches production, it tells you the quiet truth behind the scenes. Somebody has figured out how to build complexity for a fraction of what it used to cost. This particular RV stands out because of its expanding upper structure, a fully engineered glass loft that rises above the main cabin. At the Shanghai Automotive Showcase, photographs showed a full lift system carrying that second level upward while maintaining structural rigidity. That alone signals a great deal of planning. You do not raise a room above a rolling chassis without years of trial fittings, hinge testing, pressure balancing, and vibration mapping. Yet here we have it, sitting on a variant of the V90 platform, the same one used in commercial fleets by the thousands. That reuse cuts out what Western builders often face: specialized frames, low-volume parts, and complicated sourcing chains. Domestic pricing in China placed this model at roughly 1,380,000 Chinese yuan, which translates to a figure that would normally belong to high-tier custom work elsewhere. But the important detail is not the absolute price. It is the relationship between complexity and cost. When a company demonstrates that it can build a rising second floor, dual slide-out wings, and a fully furnished interior on a mass-production backbone, it reveals the true pressure point in the market. It means every simpler RV built on the same backbone benefits from the same engineering investments. If a manufacturer spreads its mass development effort over thousands of commercial vans, each recreational model inherits that work almost for free. For anyone watching prices, that is the takeaway. The Villa Edition signals that China is not dabbling. It is preparing its platforms so the lower-tier units come in cheaper and more competitive than anything built through fragmented Western supply chains. This model does not threaten affordability directly. It threatens it indirectly by proving that complex engineering can be amortized across huge production runs, something Western factories struggle to match. As we move to the next entry, keep this image in mind: a two-level RV rising from a familiar van chassis. It is not the luxury that matters. It is the message hidden inside the metal. Wuling Ranguang RV. There is something grounding about the Wuling Ranguang RV. It does not pretend to be a rolling penthouse or a futuristic experiment. It begins with a simple microvan platform, a design that has been moving workers and freight across Chinese cities for more than 2 decades. And yet, this modest foundation is exactly why this RV matters. When a manufacturer builds hundreds of thousands of identical vans every year, the cost of turning a few into livable units falls sharply, and that price shift eventually reaches anyone watching the global market. The most revealing detail is the domestic retail figure. At launch, dealer tags inside China showed the Ranguang RV listed at 56,800 Chinese yuan. When converted, that lands well below the threshold most shoppers expect for a fully configured travel unit. And the proof did not stop at the showroom. Used listings across several inland provinces showed figures slipping under 40,000 Chinese yuan, indicating rapid resale turnover and extremely low holding costs. That alone tells you something important. This model does not sit on lots. It moves quickly because it is built from a platform with nearly universal parts availability. Inside the cabin, everything serves a direct purpose. A fold-flat sleeping surface spans the rear. A compact kitchenette fits along the side wall using lightweight materials pulled directly from Wuling's supply network. Ventilation routes through a simple rooftop module. There is no over-engineering, no unnecessary electronics, no expensive decorative panels that require specialized technicians. Every component draws from existing production lines, and that is why the final sticker is so low. Simplicity becomes a financial weapon when used at scale. There is also a revealing economic layer behind the scenes. The Ranguang series is part of a joint venture structure that merges several manufacturing networks. That is why parts for the base van can be sourced in nearly any city, and why tooling costs remain stable year after year. When you build a travel unit from a platform that already powers delivery fleets, the supply chain is predictable, and predictable supply means predictable cost, and predictable cost means consistent pricing pressure on every other builder in the same weight class. For anyone tracking depreciation, this is the detail to note. If an importer brings micro RVs into the West, even in modest quantities, they will not compete with high-end vans. They will compete with anything under the 50,000 United States dollar line. And that is where downward price pressure tends to spread fastest. As we move forward to the next model, imagine the Ranguang RV not as a rival to luxury units, but as a quiet anchor, pulling the entire lower segment downward, one modest invoice at a time. If you are finding value in this breakdown, give the video a like, hit subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your feedback shapes every investigation here, and it helps keep these deeper market stories coming when they matter most. Jinbe X30 LRV. There is a certain honesty in the Jinbe X30 LRV. It does not hide behind elaborate expansions or towering profiles. It enters the picture with the confidence of a platform that has already proven itself on crowded streets, tight delivery routes, and long stretches of everyday use. When you begin with a foundation that has earned trust through repetition, you can build something practical without inflating cost. That is exactly what happened here. The X30L van has been a backbone of small commercial transport for years, and the transition into a compact travel unit came with almost no disruption to the underlying structure. One of the most revealing facts about this RV is its component overlap. Internal sheets from multiple conversion houses in China confirm that more than 50% of the parts in the travel configuration are shared directly with the standard van. That includes body panels, wiring harnesses, suspension components, and even interior brackets. When a builder uses an existing parts library, they skip the expensive retooling phase entirely. No new stamping dies, no specialized suppliers, no redesigned subframes. This is how cost control is achieved without sacrificing function. Domestic pricing supports this as well. Listings from several northeastern provinces show completed X30 LRV units, ranging from 72,000 Chinese yuan to 86,000 Chinese yuan. Those figures hold steady because the supply chain is consistent and predictable. Buyers know replacement parts are widely available. Technicians know they can service the mechanical systems without hunting for rare components. And conversion shops know they are working with a platform that rarely changes from year to year. Stability becomes a hidden asset, and that stability shows up in the final invoice. Inside the cabin, the layout is straightforward. A folding bed occupies the rear, designed to sit above a storage pocket. A compact cooking block attaches to the side panel, pulling from the same lightweight. Materials used in the commercial variant. Ventilation is routed through a modest rooftop assembly. There is no attempt to mimic premium features. Instead, the goal is reliability. Every hinge, latch, and bracket uses hardware standardized across the broader Jinbe lineup, and that standardization means fewer surprises over time. The larger impact becomes clear when you compare this RV to Western entry-level models. When a builder can reuse half of its components, it shifts the balance of pricing. A van built through a fragmented supplier network will always carry more overhead. This RV sidesteps that issue entirely. As we transition to the next section, picture the Jinbe X30 LRV as a reminder of what cost discipline looks like when a manufacturer stays rooted in a proven platform rather than chasing novelty for its own sake. Photon Toano RV. What stands out about the Photon Toano RV is the way it blends familiar commercial strength with a surprisingly measured approach to long-distance travel. This is not a van that arrived out of nowhere. It comes from a lineage of full-size transport vehicles that have been moving passengers, cargo, and equipment across vast regions for years. That heritage matters because it means the underlying engineering has already survived harsh roads, heavy loads, and relentless mileage before a single travel component is added. When you begin with a platform built for endurance, the economics of conversion shift in your favor. The Toano base carries a power plant produced under a licensed arrangement drawn from long-standing diesel technology. It is not flashy, but it is dependable, and dependability becomes its own form of savings. A powertrain built for commercial fleets is designed to run well beyond typical recreational usage. That kind of durability cuts life cycle cost, and life cycle cost always filters into the final number a builder can offer. Domestic listings inside China have shown complete Toano RV configurations priced between 198,000 Chinese yuan and 2,000 Chinese yuan, depending on interior features. Those figures are notable because the van competes in a class where Western equivalents often land at several times that amount. Inside, the layout is functional and direct. A full bed anchors the rear section. A compact kitchen module brings heating, storage, and workspace into a single line. Ventilation routes through a broad roof assembly designed to handle prolonged operation. The design avoids elaborate mechanisms, relying instead on straightforward components pulled from existing Photon manufacturing lines. This reuse of parts is not only efficient, it is sensible. When a company builds tens of thousands of commercial vans each year, spare parts remain abundant, and costs remain contained. The real financial insight comes from how the Toano is produced. Photon operates multiple high-volume facilities, allowing the company to spread design and tooling expenses across an enormous production footprint. While Western travel vans often struggle with niche components and specialized suppliers, the Toano RV grows from a platform that thrives on scale. The more units Photon builds, the lower the marginal cost becomes for every conversion. That downward pressure eventually influences global pricing, whether directly or indirectly. When you consider the potential impact on the broader market, the Toano RV represents more than an affordable option. It signals how full-size travel vans might be priced when built on commercial foundations, instead of small-batch recreational platforms. As we move onward, keep this image in mind. A full-scale passenger van repurposed into a measured travel unit without inflating its cost. That balance will matter even more as the next model enters the conversation. Photon View G7 RV. The strength of the Photon View G7 RV becomes clear the moment you understand where it comes from. This is not a specialty project built in small numbers for a narrow audience. It is the product of a commercial van series that rolls off assembly lines in volumes that many manufacturers can only imagine. That scale changes everything. When a company produces more than 120,000 units across a single platform family in 1 year, the economics of conversion tilt sharply toward affordability. And that is exactly why the View G7 RV holds a pivotal place in China's travel vehicle landscape. At its core, the G7 is a work van designed to move people and equipment through dense urban districts and long provincial stretches. That means the chassis is stiff, the suspension is conservative, and the drivetrain is tuned for repeatable reliability rather than short bursts of performance. Those qualities are not glamorous, but they are ideal for anyone expecting consistent service over long periods. When conversion teams begin their work, they are not starting from a blank slate. They are starting from a foundation that has already endured real-world environments for years. That reliability reduces risk, and reduced risk almost always translates into reduced cost. Domestic listings inside China place completed G7 RV builds between 148,000 Chinese yuan and 178,000 Chinese yuan. These numbers remain stable because the supply network behind the van is deep, organized, and predictable. Replacement panels, mechanical parts, and electrical modules are stocked across numerous service centers. That availability prevents sudden cost spikes, and it ensures that a builder does not need to invent new solutions for routine tasks. Every component fits into a broader manufacturing ecosystem, And that infrastructure is what keeps the final invoice grounded. Inside the cabin, the design leans on practicality. A convertible bed occupies the rear, with storage pockets built along the walls. The kitchen module is compact, using lightweight materials drawn directly from the supply lines that support the underlying van. Ventilation routes upward through a rooftop fixture designed for steady airflow. Nothing feels unnecessary, yet nothing feels improvised. It is a measured layout that relies on proven components rather than experimental mechanisms. The broader financial meaning becomes clearer when you compare this RV to Western mid-tier alternatives. Any builder working at low volume must charge more to cover production overhead. A builder working within a massive commercial platform like the G7 enjoys the opposite effect. The more vans leave the line, the more affordable each conversion becomes. SEAT Maxus V90 Electric Campervan RV. Electric travel often feels like a promise waiting for proof, and the SEAT Maxus EV90 RV delivers exactly that evidence. It enters the market as a full-size electric platform built on commercial engineering rather than experimental ambition. That distinction matters because commercial architecture brings durability, predictable supply chains, and long-term cost control into a segment that rarely enjoys those advantages. The heart of the EV90 is its battery system, rated for roughly 315 kilometers under standardized testing inside China. That figure is not extraordinary, yet it is practical, and practicality becomes the real story once you understand how the powertrain is sourced. SEAT relies on the same EV supply network used across countless passenger vehicles, meaning battery modules, controllers, and cooling systems flow through mature production lines. When parts move at that scale, prices fall, and those reductions filter directly into the cost of every travel configuration built on top of the platform. Inside the cabin, the design remains measured rather than theatrical. A folding bed anchors the rear, a compact galley stretches along the sidewall, and a ventilation system channels air through a roof-mounted assembly tuned for steady output. None of these elements are extravagant, but each choice reflects a philosophy rooted in reliability and maintainability rather than spectacle. Because the platform is electric, energy consumption becomes predictable, and predictable energy makes long-term operation easier to manage. Charging patterns settle into familiar rhythms, and maintenance focuses on wear components rather than combustion systems. Domestic estimates placed the EV90 RV between $29,000 United States dollars and $33,000 United States dollars on a freight-on-board basis, well below comparable Western electric vans. That pricing advantage exists because SEAT leverages multi-plant production, shared tooling, and integrated sourcing from its broader commercial lineup. It is not a discount. It is the result of structural efficiency built over many years. The implication for anyone following market shifts is straightforward. If affordable electric platforms continue to enter export channels, the upper boundaries on travel vehicle pricing may tighten sooner than expected. The EV90 RV does not attempt to impress through novelty. It proves that electric travel can function within disciplined engineering rather than inflated promise. This model hints at what happens when a major manufacturer commits to long-range production instead of isolated showcases. As we near the next entry, keep one idea in mind. Electric capability becomes far more convincing when it is supported by a supply chain built for endurance rather than exhibition. And that quiet shift, grounded in proven production rather than marketing flourish, is the signal that the broader travel vehicle landscape may be preparing for a profound adjustment, shaped by steady engineering rather than temporary excitement. SEAT Maxus V90 Classic RV. Some vehicles shift a market quietly, and the SEAT Maxus V90 Classic RV does it with a kind of steady certainty that comes only from disciplined engineering paired with an unexpectedly low export figure. This model steps forward without theatrics. It relies on a commercial backbone refined through years of route service, cargo hauling, and fleet operation. And that foundation allows the travel configuration to keep its cost anchored in a way few competitors can match. When a platform proves itself long before conversion begins, every additional component gains stability, and stability becomes the hidden force that shapes pricing. the V90 Classic, uses a chassis shared across delivery, shuttle, and light transport sectors, which means its structural testing was effectively completed through thousands of real-world hours. That shared lineage removes the need for expensive redesigns or limited-run tooling. Panels, mounts, wiring harnesses, and mechanical assemblies already exist at volume, and volume becomes its own financial advantage. When builders can draw from established inventories instead of bespoke components, each finished RV gains a predictable cost curve. Inside the cabin, the classic layout favors clarity over complication. A full sleeping surface lines the rear. A compact kitchen module fits along the wall. Storage pockets frame the interior without eating into floor space. Ventilation moves through a roof assembly, designed for steady output rather than novelty. Nothing feels exaggerated. Everything feels considered. These choices keep service work straightforward, reduce failure points, and allow long-term operation without specialized technicians. That practicality is not merely a design preference. It is an economic decision that keeps the final invoice grounded. The most significant detail, however, comes from export documentation listing this model at $12,480 United States dollars on a freight-on-board basis from Guangdong. That figure did not appear as a promotional gesture. It appeared as a recorded shipment value, supported by photographs showing rows of completed units staged for transport. When a full-size RV leaves the factory at a number this restrained, ripple effects begin immediately. Competing models anchored to higher production costs cannot ignore a benchmark set this low. The broader implication stretches well beyond one vehicle, because the V90 Classic shows how a high-volume commercial backbone can reshape travel unit pricing. As we close, see it not as a loud disruptor, but as a quiet recalibration built on discipline, shared tooling, and genuine value through measured, reliable engineering. And that's the real impact of China's 2026 Campervan release, a move that could reshape more than just the RV world. But the big question is, what do you think happens next? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your take. If this breakdown opened your eyes, hit that like button. And don't forget to subscribe for the next chapter, because this story is nowhere near finished.